Lagos, Nigeria. This is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Controversy brews following official unveiling of African Democratic Party by opposition coalition. Supreme Court reserves judgment in appeal challenging election of Monday Obekpolo as governor of Edo State. Indian Prime Minister arrives in Ghana as more countries compete for economic influence in Africa.
In business, International Monetary Fund urges Nigerian government to rework its 2025 budget to reflect less favorable oil price.
And in sports, Benue government overrules State Assembly's decision to terminate renovation contract of the Aparco Stadium, directs contractors to return to site. Details in a moment.
A warm welcome. Tonight begins now. We begin tonight with a brewing controversy over inauguration of former Senate President David Mark as the interim national chairman of the African Democratic Congress by the leaders of the opposition coalition. Mark was appointed alongside former Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola, who now serves as the party's national secretary. The official handover was conducted at a coalition meeting in Abuja, which brought together members and stakeholders from various political parties. Meanwhile, former presidential candidate of the party, Dumebi Kachukwu, has said that Nigeria's former vice president and former PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, entered into an alliance with a former national chairman of the ADC, Ralph Nwosu, whose tenure expired in 2022, which automatically nullified the alliance even before kickoff.
We all decided to resign so that he can peddle this canoe and get us to the villa. The endorsement that we got, and which we're today going to give to distinguished Senator David Mark, as interim national chairman of ADC, also with the same mandate, the approval of Governor Rauf Aregbesola as national secretary.
Let history record that when our democracy faltered, we rose not in fear, but in faith. Let it be known today across Nigeria and beyond, the opposition is united. The platform is APC. The time is now. The mission is clear. Rescue Nigeria, rebuild Nigeria, return power to the people.
Professor Anthony Killer is director at Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies. He joins me now for this conversation. Thank you for giving us your time tonight. The presser there is saying that the opposition is united, but are they really? Barely hours after the announcement of a coalition with the ADC, we're hearing that the people that handed over the party are not qualified to do that. What's your perspective on what happened today?
Well, I think, from the last place where you started, hours after the handing over of the party, some people are protesting against it. It's just a typical Nigerian chaos that shows the concern that some of us express with the kind of leadership that we have. Somebody's not doing the right thing. Either the people who handed over the party have not followed due process, or the people who are protesting are just spoil sports. Whichever way, it shows lack of character and lack of commitment to ideas and indeed deficiency in planning. But it must be said, this is a general malaise, as we've seen across all parties. I go in alphabetical order. The APC, has just gotten rid of his national chairman in mysterious circumstances. But after that, you have the NNP, they're having their own problem. Labour is having their own problem. It just tells you that, as a people, at least, the leaders that represent us as a people are not as straightforward and rigorous and committed and consistent as they ought to be. That is the last part of the story. But, the real story of the day is that these people have gotten together and found a platform to which to run on. I'm sure you want to explore that as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of persons will agree that the opposition vehicle that was long awaited may have finally arrived, but many have said the journey is only now beginning. What will that journey look like with this start?
Well, I think this journey, in the mind of those who are, as it were, the pilgrims, the people trying to travel this course, in their mind, this is going to be like a journey like the APC that wrestled power and took over from the PDP. That is what they hope to achieve. Time and their actions will tell if they are up to the task. From what I've seen, looking at it from the outside, analyzing it, I see that they try to bring some big wigs together. David Mark is not a man of 10 million votes. He's neither Buhari nor Tinubu, but he's a man that can command leadership, former governor, former minister, respected military officer, Senate president. I see him as somebody who can, call leadership into order. And when he says chairman, I suspect he's going to be a real chairman, not the kind of chairman that any governor or state party leader can walk over. So that the building state, but they need to show that they're a true alternative to what is there in terms of their ability to come forward with programs, ideas, and galvanize people to truly believe them. It is not enough to say people are not happy with the government of the day. The opposition has to appear credibly reliable and indeed a better alternative. I think that is where they're going now. That is the challenge, as it were.
The day is still very young, but I'm curious to know your thoughts as to the response given by the former presidential candidate, Moyele Sowore, in the 2023 election. Why declining firmly to be part of the coalition? He said that these persons, let me see if I can quote it exactly, that some of the coalition's key members have been alleged to have acts of corruption, human rights abuses. He also talked about the fact that they are a gang of armed robbers. Do you think that perhaps he's holding too much on to the past, that these are unique circumstances as Deji Adeoju subjected him to?
Well, I do not believe in unique circumstances. I think people should be judged by their history, and there should be consequence for whatever you do in public space. I think we need to have a historical memory so that we do not fall trap of the things that has happened before, or fall victim of avoidable things. We should know who people were in the past and to see what is stands for in the future. But the problem we have here is that we're dealing with a group of people. There's a leadership problem where it is difficult to find somebody who's totally with a clean past, that has nothing that they need to stand in judgment for. Left and right, you look at it, that is the way. I do not think Mr. Sowore is a man of coalition. And, in a way, credit to him, because he stands on his own side, and he's not the kind of person that will work with other people, as if not with this set of leadership. I do not think he has been able to work with others as well. But, there's space for everybody. I don't think we should brush off what he says to say, well, he's clinging on to the past. The past affects the present and the future. So it's legitimate to look at everybody's past. The problem is, if we look at everybody's past, you'll be surprised what you're going to see, in most people's past. So I guess we have to do with what we have. And I speak like an old, practical, almost cynical man now.
All right, Prof, thank you very much, as always, for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
For having me.
We'll continue this conversation, but this time with Shegu Showumi, I beg your pardon, former spokesman to Nigeria's former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. With him is Dumebi Kachuku, former presidential candidate, African Democratic Congress. Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time. I will start with you, Mr. Shawumi. Your thoughts quickly on the response given about this coalition by Professor Killer. Okay, I understand we don't have Shawumi at the moment, but we do have Mr. Dumebi Kachuku. So I'm going to start with your presser today. Thank you for joining us, by the way. You have said that this coalition is not real because they made an alliance with someone who was no longer chair of the party. You're also saying that there are lots of litigation on the matter. Who is presiding over the affairs of this party, and who should these men have spoken with?
It's very simple. The tenure of Ralph Nwosu lapsed on 21st of August 2022, just after the primaries that made me the presidential candidate of the party. And if you recall, they attempted to do what they always do, and which is produce a presidential candidate and then try and enter an alliance with bigger parties to sell and say, oh, we're going to bring the force of our party and just pay us some money. And of course, I refused, and I said, I'm in this race, I'm running my race, and I will not allow that. And they essentially wrote to INEC to say, I'm no longer their presidential candidate, and blah, 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 and all of that stuff, you know. And we went to court, and it was a big brouhaha then. Eventually, Justice Binta Nyako ruled in our favor, pronounced him as his tenure as having lapsed. And since then, INEC being who and what they are, they played a lot of games, and INEC did not heed the court order. Hence, we have a situation 3 years after we have a lacuna in our party. We don't have a national working committee. We have a NEC and we have a board of trustees. So the NEC is comprised of the state chairman of the party. And since then, the state chairman of the party have been locked in legal battle with Ralph Nwosu, which went all the way to the Supreme Court. Sometime in December last year, some political figures in the country reaching out to me about wanting to use the party ADC as the coalition platform, and they wanted me to pull out the case in courts, you know, and I asked them who are the members of the coalition, and they mentioned the people who you've seen emerge. They mentioned some of them. And that the coalition was being led by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and they convinced me to come for a meeting. And when I went for that meeting, the first and only meeting, I asked a question, and my question is this. Seeing that we've had President Buhari have 2 terms of 8 years, and seeing that the coalition is there to ensure that President Tinubu goes for only 1 term, that the South will be shortchanged if we don't agree right now that this coalition will produce a Southerner as the presidential flag bearer. And will they concede before we start that position to a Southerner? And the immediate response was that we're here to take our power back. And I felt that was demeaning, that was insulting. I'm a Southerner. I have every right to aspire to any office in the land. And I pulled out of every conversation. And
all right.
They went to this
I do have follow-up questions to your submission so far. I'm sorry, but we need to bring in Mr. Shawumi to the conversation. Thank you for being here. Talk to us about your reaction to the reactions that have followed the announcement of the coalition today. We have one of the contenders with us who says that coalition is it's not legal, so to speak.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. It is the right of anybody to sit together with themselves plan whatever they think is the best way to do whatever it is that they think they want to do. But I think it would be disingenuous for them to say they are working in the interest of the Nigerian people or they represent a new order. Because all you need to do is look at all the profiles of the men who are suddenly now champions of the new order in Nigeria, looking for coalitions and whatever they call the name, and you will find a bunch of hoppers who hop from one party to the other. If it doesn't favor them, they hop to the next. If it doesn't favor them, they hop to the next. In the last 2 years that they've been discussing this, their so-called coalition, they came and said they were going to coalesce and probably do something around SDP. They excited those who are easily excitable, only to go there and destabilize the place. Then they came out of that and started talking about ADA, registration of a new party. They excited the excitable, only to destabilize the place. Now they have gone and hopped on another man's party called the ADC, without looking clearly to see the state of the party. And my brother Kachuku is right. I'm aware that those cases are there. And again, they have gone there now to go and scatter and destroy parties that were probably trying to figure out how to morph and improve themselves. They have shown themselves to be people who don't understand the business of building to last. If you take every one of them, you will find them either in PDP today, AC tomorrow, SDP the next day, DPM the next day they are back in PDP, then they are back in APC, then they want PDP, or they are in ABGA. If they are not in ABGA, they are in PDP, they are in Labour. And I laugh when they say they have taken my beloved father, the almighty, very respected David Mark, as the chairman of their, interim chairman of their contraption. I would just say to Chief Mark, with due respect, sir, and I'll probably speak a little bit of the language that he understands. The era of Opanikaini is over. In Idoma language, Opanikaini means the leader has said. But I'm sure that he knows that in that place where he's occupying, he will have to contend with the senator representing PDP coming from that area, who will likely not be able to be easily pushed over. I don't see anything that can excite or even maybe make anybody uncomfortable. I believe that right of freedom, right of association has given them the right to gather as many times as they've gathered. And their matter becomes a little bit more frustrating because first they said their issue in PDP was they had an issue with the national chairman acting. When
let me go back to Mr. Kachuku and just off what you said earlier that the Southerners are being shortchanged in the negotiations. Is that perhaps the reason you are against this coalition? And what would be your response to views that are being peddled that you are being used as a tool by the ruling APC to be a spoiler of this coalition?
It's just like one assuming that you and your organization, you are being used as a tool by the opposition to destabilize the government of the day. There are certain questions we should not ask in polite company that are demeaning and that are insulting. You don't see a person of my stature and ask that kind of question.
No, but it is a question. I'm asking it because it is being speculated. Since your presser, people are saying perhaps, and that is why you are here to, speak to that. I don't think there's any bad form in asking questions that people are asking.
And exactly what I said when I posed to you that there are a lot of people who believe that your news platform is being used against the government of the day. And in polite company, when people make pedestrian assumptions, we don't raise them to the bar of civil discourse. That's the point I'm trying to make. Now, leading to your question, I don't want to believe that you brought me to your platform to answer or give credence to that question. Now, if you want to ask about the issue of the South, it's politics of old where people believe that there's North and South in Nigeria. And if President Buhari has done 2 terms of 8 years and President Tinubu is doing 4 years now, I believe as a politician that if there has to be any opposition or any coalition that it should be led by someone from the South. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's what I demanded, that let's agree before we start that it's going to be led, your candidate is going to be someone from the South. It's a genuine demand. And I made that demand, and they clearly said, we want to take our power back, which reminds me of what happened when President Jonathan was there. And then this same thing started, we started seeing sponsored terrorism, just like we're seeing all over the place now. And then people believed that the government of the day was incapable, inefficient, and then people started reacting badly. And then President Buhari came in, and we had 8 years of a totally inept government. Beyond that, like my brother just said now, look at the hall you saw today. You saw that video in a country where we have 70% of our population as youth below the age of 30. Who did you see there? People who are above 75. People who are all XXXXX. XXXX means that these are people who have led Nigeria in the last 40 years, who brought us to where we are as a people. And are these the same people we should be promoting to lead Nigeria? Do you bring people who have burnt a house, come and put out the fire? Absolutely not.
All right.
And we have to say it as it is. Nigerians are being held hostage and being held captive by a bunch of people for the last 40 years, and we need to speak against this now.
All right, I do have a question, and I'm taking this to Mr. Shawumi. Activist and legal practitioner Deji Adeoju, in trying to ask Shawari to join the coalition, made a point, and I would want your view on it. He said to reconsider his long-standing ideological stance and join the coalition. His argument is that these are extraordinary political times and require difficult sacrifices. Your thoughts?
Well, I think I have read Yele's response, and Yele is my brother. I think Yele is right on this occasion. And I think that one must give him credit for the courage to say, not every journey would a revolutionary hop on. You cannot, in all decency, say a government that is 2 years, whatever your issues may be, that you are going to now start concocting a group of people who want to do evil. The one that is from Kaduna State there, you know his record. The one that was the former vice president, 2 times presidential candidate of PDP, must be ashamed of himself that his party is dying and is hopping somewhere else. The one that is a Labour Party man, he could not manage AFGA, cannot manage PDP, cannot manage Labour. Who are the people that will excite you? What are the big new ideas they are bringing to the table? I think Yele is right, and I just pray that with time, myself and Yele will close rank more and begin to look at these things more broadly. Because truth be said, we cannot have the same set of people that has run the country aground be telling us that they want to rescue us from one of their ows. If all is said and done, we cannot also convert our Aso Rock into another people's home. The last of their age mates that will be president in our country should be Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If they want to take power from him, we are looking for younger people. And if he has to run his term, then he runs his term and retires a whole lot of them. If this country was a country where we gave consequences to those who are in government, these people will not even have the temerity or the effrontery to come before us and tell us that.
All right, Mr. Shawumi, I'm told we are almost done with this interview. I'm sorry to interject, but I do have one more question for Mr. Kachukwu. As quickly as you can, in 40 seconds, talk to us about what are the options. You say that these people are recycled. You say agreements have not been reached. But there are talks about a coalition, an opposition, to keep our democracy vibrant. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I believe that we need a coalition. I believe that we need a vibrant opposition in Nigeria. And I believe that the Nigerian people, Nigerian masses, the youths of Nigeria need to start organizing themselves. I believe that it's time that we do away with expired politicians, we do away with geriatrics, and we start looking into ourselves, amongst ourselves. One of the sad things that happened to us is that these people removed every sense of responsibility of leadership in us, where we don't believe in ourselves, where we look up to them. If you see how cynical we are, you social media, you see what people say. People believe that these people who have held us captive for 40 years, that they are the only ones who can lead, who can rule us. And
I mean, the question, we're out of time, but I really have to say this. In the last election, there were talks about Peter Obi, there were talks about the now president, there were talks about Atiku as options. Now we have a coalition of these men. Who are the people that might come into a coalition that would work for you? In 20 seconds, please. I'm told we're out of time.
But like I said, any coalition should be a broad-based coalition of Nigerians like you and I, who desire fresh ideas, fresh faces, fresh names, who want to go in a completely
different direction. Mr. Shawumi, 20 seconds as well. 20 seconds as well.
That if they get if they are so interested in bringing somebody, they should start looking in the direction of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. He has a free term that he can call on, and he has shown that he's the kind of leader that can put in the serum into the country to douse the tension and keep everybody calm again. But you see those ones that are masquerading around the Yaradua Center, they went on a holiday. When they are done, they'll come and talk to us. But for now, I think they're just joking. They won't even be able to cross the hurdle of the ADC. Because I know how strong the case of Kachuku is. And we'll see how time goes.
Gentlemen, I'm very appreciative of your time with us tonight. Thank you for speaking with us. Coming up tonight, business lawyers in Nigeria have on the role of technology in discharging their duties. This and more when we return. Thank you for staying with us. The Supreme Court has put on hold its judgment in the ongoing legal battle over the Edo State governorship election, leaving the fate of Senator Monday Obekpolo hanging in the balance. The Apex Court on Thursday announced that it would communicate a later date for delivering its verdict after hearing final arguments in the appeal filed by Asue Ighodalo and his party, the People's Democratic Party. Justice Garba Lawal, who presided over the proceedings, made it clear that judgment has been adjourned indefinitely.
This appeal, or the appeal, the appellant, as the PDP, came back to the Supreme Court on same issues to canvass an issue that is a mere academic exercise. I don't know what they want the Supreme Court to do. Whether they're going to manufacture all that things from heaven, I don't know. So, but so far so good. We are good to go. APC is good to go. The government is good to go.
First, I want to thank the judiciary. It's the hope of a common man. We've gone through first stage, second stage. This is the third one, and it's not a.
I'm now joined by constitutional lawyer Jide Ologu to take us through the judgment and the Edo State matter. Thank you very much for being with us in the studio.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
This is indefinite. We don't know when they will be coming back. What are your thoughts about this adjournment?
You know, the Supreme Court will communicate the date for the parties to come for the judgment to be delivered. And since 1963, when we became a republic, that has been the highest court in the land. So that is the third stage. So after that pronouncement, then the case will be closed. And if you go by the precedents before now, at the tribunal level, it was difficult proving that the APC governorship candidate did not win the elections. If you go by Section 131 of the Evidence Act 2011, it says if you approach the court concerning any right or liability and you allude to some facts, the burden is on you to prove those facts. And in this particular case, particularly springing from the tribunal, even though PDP made reference to about 765 polling units where there were massive irregularities, then non-serialization of vital documents, non-compliance with the Electoral Act, and some other allegations. Those were not proved before the court. And that also was confirmed at the appellate level, because even though Beaver's machines were presented before the tribunal, documents don't speak for themselves. You have to call your witnesses and establish your facts, which they've not been able to do. But that is not to preempt the final decision of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but what's your take on the issues around witnesses, the testimonies that was given by witnesses, and the controversy around the Beaver's machine? How would that factor in? I
just mentioned it now. Documents don't speak for themselves. I think about 19 witnesses were presented, out of which about 5 were from the polling units. And you are talking of about 765 polling units. What about the presiding officers? You see, you need all this to build up your case. And in the law school, we're taught that you keep your gunpowder dry all through the proceedings. You see, so these are vital elements, and the court pointed them out. In fact, the court made reference to the fact that it was like you just came dumping materials before us. You must prove them, call witnesses, and that opportunity was given. And that is why in law we need to be careful before jumping to conclusion. It's your case. You have to prove it. The court will not in any way step out of the way.
Okay, I know there are limits to the things we can discuss because
absolutely, yeah, that's why I said without preempting.
Yes. I wanted to ask you your assessment of the arguments presented by both parties. Were you satisfied with the defense both ways?
They spoke from different angles, praying before the court. PDP saying dislodge the decision of the tribunal and the Court of Appeal and pronounce our candidate winner. And APC is saying no, affirm the decision of the tribunal and the Court of Appeal that confirmed the victory of their candidate. So we are waiting for the Supreme Court, presided over by 5 justices, to come out with their final verdict. So what I did was just to go backwards to review what happened at the tribunal level, which is the main arena for you to marshal your case and prove your case. Because if you go beyond the tribunal level, they are now making reference to points of law, and that opportunity has gone. And like I said, perhaps when the final decision is given, we may be back to review and we can learn. You know, we keep building the finesse of jurisprudence, but I just rolled out the basic tool you need as a litigation practitioner.
Yeah, I know this is not new in this country, the court ruling, and there is an impact. Talk to us about the likely implications for Edo State, however the court might rule.
The implication is that, like I mentioned earlier, Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. So whatever decision comes out of Supreme Court, Edo State must be prepared to ride on with that decision. So the next question now is that, how will democracy benefit from the decision? How will good governance be delivered to the citizens? And I think I leave that to the politicians who are privileged to occupy office and who perhaps are interested in sustainability, particularly in the heart of the electorate, who should be the judges at the political level of their performance. So by and large, I think as soon as possible, the Supreme Court should invite them for the final verdict. I think the tribunal ruled on the 2nd of April, then the Court of Appeal May 29, and I hope that within a very short moment, so that to keep the tempo and the suspense not too long, that Supreme Court will pronounce, and after that, maybe the next place for appeal is God's court, and governance should proceed. And that's why I respect what some are proposing, that why don't we have a scenario where, and this was in the recommendations of Honorable Justice Uwais late, that, resolve some of these electoral matters before a governor is sworn into office, so that we don't have a situation where a candidate is already occupying office and the matter is still in court. And we hope that the National Assembly, empowered by Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria, will look in that direction. And the next question you may want to ask is that, of what benefit will it be to politicians? So the interests of the politicians who represent us in the National Assembly may override the interests of the generality of the citizens and the nation.
Thank you very much for speaking with us.
You're welcome.
The federal government has officially commissioned a 16.4-kilometer stretch of newly dualized and upgraded roads connecting Ushafa to the War College, Army Checkpoint, and other surrounding areas within Buari Area Council in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. News Center's correspondent Eche Idoko has more in this report.
Focus shifted to Buari Area Council as the federal government reaffirmed its commitment to infrastructural development across the Federal Capital Territory. Officials noted that improving road networks is essential to boosting mobility and economic activity, especially in satellite towns, including Ushafa, that serve as gateways to the city center.
These dualized and upgraded roads will not only ease traffic congestion, they will breathe new life into economic activities, improve access to education and healthcare, and uplift the overall quality of life for the good people of Ushafa, Buari, and the neighboring communities.
This is the first time a sitting president, a vice president, will go to the satellite towns to identify with them, to tell the people in the satellite town, as we are doing for the city, so also we'll care for you.
For years, residents endured hardship due to the poor condition of the road. But now, they say, the transformation has brought a renewed sense of hope and convenience, though they emphasize that maintenance is critical to sustaining the project's impact.
You can even trek from here. Before, we cannot even trek to our houses. But now, without bike, comfortably safe, nothing will happen. You can trek to your various houses even without bike, even at night.
When you're driving, you have to jump a lot of potholes to get to your house or to the market or to walk or to even get to the road there. But now that it's been constructed, we are really happy. From my place to the health center, oh boy, maybe induced labor will just affect because of the road is very bad. And it was during that rainy season that I gave birth to my child. But now, from my site to there, before you say Jack, I'm in the hospital already.
Complete this project 1 year, we will do the maintenance. After the 1 year, of course, the local government is supposed to be do maintenance. And for example, every year, if they do the maintenance, this road long lasts more than 50 years.
Residents and officials of the FCTA believe that only when every part of Abuja receives equal attention of infrastructural development will the capital truly function at its best. In Abuja, for News Central, Eche Idoko.
The Emir of Kano, Muhammad Sanusi II, believes the transformative potential of technology such as the artificial intelligence in the legal field will not only expedite judicial processes, but also strengthen public trust in the legal system through increased transparency and efficiency. He said this at the 19th Annual Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law in Lagos on Wednesday. My colleague Victor Mbadike tells us more.
These set the tone for conversations around building an adaptive framework that empowers business lawyers to deliver more efficient, transparent, and globally competitive legal services.
This conference is not just about the future of business law, it is about the future of business.
The legal industry in Nigeria is experiencing a critical shift as stakeholders, lawyers and opinion molders gather to explore the transformative power of technology in legal practice.
When we increasingly criminal laws dealing with public funds, then you wonder whether we are really ready for some of these things. When you have to wait for a long time to get a copy of a judgment delivered by a court, after being told that the judgment is being edited, and still have a certified true copy of SIM containing so many grammatical and clerical errors, you wonder how ready are we?
The Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, who was represented by senior counselor at the Emirates, believes technology will help reshape the legal industry in Nigeria.
We have to be proactive in terms of looking ahead and providing laws that will balance between development technologically, innovating, and at the same time ensuring justice and equity.
Organizers remain optimistic that firms, business lawyers who embrace legal tech are better positioned to improve efficiency and remain competitive in the global industry.
Digitizing, for instance, the recording of court proceedings so that judges no longer have to manually take notes. That is one very easy way in which technology can help move our judiciary forward. For legal practitioners, sometimes we deal with agreements that are hundreds of pages. So usually it just takes hours and hours to draft, to review, to negotiate these agreements.
So what do businesses stand to gain from the outcome of this conference? It's simple. It's a mind shift of everything that we think business is about and how automation is going to change that.
A compelling story narrative has been shared on this platform today to bring about that paradigm shift on the use of technology on business law and any other business for that matter, from the courtrooms, the boardrooms, to classrooms, and even government agencies, all to create a system today that will deliver tomorrow. In Lagos for News Central TV, Victor Mbadike.
Many thanks, Victor. Let's go over to Zimbabwe. We understand prominent journalist was detained Wednesday over an article critical of President Emmerson Mnangagwa in a charge media groups decried was another attack on freedom of expression. Faith Zaba, editor of the Zimbabwe Independent newspaper, is the latest journalist to be charged in court over what the government claimed undermined the authority of 82-year-old Mnangagwa. Prosecutors said Zaba published the article titled "When You Become Mafia State" under the Mokuraka column of the weekly tabloid. A magistrate court in the capital, Harare, ordered that Zaba be detained until Thursday, when it will rule on an application for bail. To a headline story, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi began his 5-nation visit on Wednesday when he landed in Ghana. Modi was greeted with a 21-gun salute and a guard of honor upon his arrival. He is the first Indian leader to visit the cocoa-rich country in 3 decades as the Asian nation competes with China and Russia for economic influence in Africa. Modi is also due to address the Ghanaian parliament in the capital, Accra, and meet members of the Indian community in the largest gold-producing country in Africa. Over now to Perpetua for business news. Good evening, Perpetua.
Good evening to you, to Felicity. Thank you. The International Monetary Fund has advised the Nigerian government to revise its proposed 54.99 trillion naira 2025 budget to reflect lower oil price expectations, warning of the country's continued vulnerability to external shocks. In its latest Article 4 consultation, the IMF acknowledged Nigeria's bold reforms such as fuel subsidy removal and forex liberalization, but stressed that further consolidation is needed. The fund urged a neutral fiscal stance focused on growth-driving investment, citing rising risks and the need to translate macroeconomic gains into tangible benefits for citizens. The Crude Oil Refineries Association of Nigeria, CORAN, has blamed the government's failure to supply crude oil to modular refineries for the perception that the Dangote Refinery holds a monopoly in Nigeria's downstream sector. CORAN's Publicity Secretary Eche Idoko has said that government inaction, not Dangote, is the real threat to fair competition. Idoko said private refineries could drive economic growth, job creation and energy security, but a lack of support undermines their potential to reduce fuel imports and support industrial growth. He called for crude allocation to smaller refineries to ensure a level playing field. So the stock markets now, bullish sentiment resurfaced in the local bourse as gains in WAPCO, Zenith Bank and international breweries drove the all-share index higher. As a result, the month-to-date and year-to-date returns settled at 0.3% and 16.9% respectively. Now, with 61 stocks closing in the green against 17 laggards, you will be right to say market sentiment was overwhelmingly positive today. Let's take a look at a snapshot. And now it's up 50 basis points. You can see the all-share index is back to the 120,000 mark this time, 120,339.90, while the market capitalization is also back to the 76 trillion naira level, 76.18 trillion naira. And that, of course, is a wrap on business tonight. I am Perpetua Fasumi Peter. Tonight continues with Felicity.
Udoka has sports stories tonight. Hello, Udoka.
Felicity, let's talk sports. The Benue State government has overruled a resolution by the State House of Assembly and directed Moni Michel Sports Facility Construction Company to resume work on the renovation of the Aparku Stadium in Makurdi. This decision comes despite a recent directive by the Assembly's Investigative Committee, which recommended terminating the contract, petitioning the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and initiating legal action against the contractor, Ebi Egbe, over alleged breaches and a failure to meet key project benchmarks. This stadium has been closed for over a year, ostensibly for the renovations to be concluded. The closure saw the state-funded football team, Lobby Stars, between Lafia, Bauchi and Enugu for its home matches in the 2024-2025 MPFL season before they were eventually relegated after finishing bottom of the league. Still talking sports now. France's all-time leading goal scorer Olivier Giroud has made a return to French football for the first time since 2012 after signing a one-year deal with Ligue 1 side Lille. The 38-year-old recently parted ways with Major League Soccer side Los Angeles Football Club, and now during his official presentation, Giroud said it was important for him to finish his career in France. The former Arsenal and AC Milan forward won the 2018 FIFA World Cup and is the top scorer in the history of the French football with 57 goals in 137 appearances. He has not played in the Ligue 1 since 2012 when he won the league title with Montpellier.
Pour moi, c'était important de finir ma carrière en France. C'était peut-être pas l'objectif il y a quelques années, mais encore une fois, l'appel d'Olivier a été déterminant. Et le fait de retrouver, de me rapprocher de la famille, des amis, retrouver un pays que j'aime, qui est le mien, avec tout le capital sympathie et l'amour.
In tennis, last year's runner-up, Jasmine Paolini, joined the exodus of top players at this year's Wimbledon after the Italian fourth seed crashed out 4-6, 6-4, 6-4 against Russian Kamila Rakimova on Wednesday. Paolini was unable to muster the fights needed to call the challenge of the unseeded Rakimova and let her opponent build a 4-2 lead in the decider. 23-year-old Rakimova wrapped up her first top 10 win on her fourth match point. Paolini's exit means only one of the top 5 women's seeds, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka, will win the third round. It is only the second time that this has happened in the professional era after Wimbledon 2018. And that's all on Sports Updates. I am Udoka Njoko.
Let's go straight now for some entertainment with Adewa.
All right, thank you, Felicity, because we're talking about Diddy. Now, after 3 days of jury deliberation, Sean Diddy Combs was finally found guilty on 2 counts of transporting individuals for prostitution while being acquitted of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The high-profile federal trial in Manhattan drew major attention with 34 witnesses testifying, including ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, who was seen in the 2016 video being assaulted by Diddy. The case was built on years of abuse allegations. While his legal team acknowledged violent behavior, they claimed all encounters were consensual. Diddy remains in custody after being denied bail, facing up to 20 years in prison, with sentencing and possible appeal ahead. Well, that's all we have on entertainment tonight.
That's the news tonight. But before we go, a reminder of our top stories. Controversy brews following official unveiling of African Democratic Party by leaders of opposition coalition. Supreme Court has reserved judgment in appeal challenging election of Monday Obekpolo as governor of Edo State. We also told you that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Ghana as more countries compete for economic influence in Africa. That's the news tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Felicity Ezewike.